boy born without a brain 6 years later. Look at what doctors find inside mom's vital warning after common virus leaves baby girl with brain damage. When Alicia Bell's daughter, Scarlett, was born underweight with hearing problems, she had a gut feeling something wasn't right months later. She learned about a common virus that changed Scarlett's life forever. When Alicia Bell found out she was pregnant with her first child, she and her partner Jake were over the moon if a little nervous. And although Alicia battled with sickness throughout the pregnancy, the pair couldn't wait to become parents, with Jake convinced they were having a little girl. But at 8 weeks, the parents' excitement turned to worry when a midwife pointed out something strange. She started measuring my bump with a tape measure and said it was small, so they sent me for a growth scan every 2 weeks, Alicia told the Mirror. Despite their concerns about how small their baby was in the womb, Alicia and Jake were assured. It was probably because Alicia was petite herself. I'm not really that small, I'm 5'11", but they seemed to think it would be okay, Alicia, who works as a buyer, said. When baby Scarlett arrived by cesarean section at 38 weeks, she weighed just 4 pounds, 11 ounces, and had a mysterious, rashed standard hearing tests carried out on newborns revealed. She could only hear in one ear. They said that was probably down to fluid in her ear from the C-section. But the new parents weren't convinced. A week later, they took their baby daughter back to the hospital for more tests. After failing several hearing tests, Scarlett eventually passed one, but Alicia was sure it was a blip for the next few months of her life. She was a very upset baby, Alicia said. I'd been saying for ages, something wasn't right. She wasn't sitting up and couldn't play like the other babies. At 10 months, old Scarlett was rushed to the hospital with a chest infection after she became wheezy. By now, Alicia and Jake were begging with doctors to look into Scarlett's missed milestones. Scarlett was put on oxygen and given a feeding tube, while doctors treated her for her infection. Alicia had contracted the virus while pregnant with Scarlett, but had no idea. She had it despite several tests when she was born. Scarlett was never given a blood test for it. If a baby is known to be born with CMV, they're given antivirals to weaken the virus, although it cannot be cured and monitored until they are 5 years old. Looking back on the first weeks of her daughter's life, Alicia wishes Scarlett had been tested for congenital CMV and treated. The NHS website advises pregnant women to wash their hands regularly after changing nappies or wiping a child's nose. Wash toys regularly, avoid putting a child's tummy in their mouth, and avoid kissing children on the mouth. Now 2.5 years old, Scarlett is making slow but steady progress. She's not good with one of her hands, but she started to giving Jake high fives. This baby was a God miracle. He wasn't supposed to turn 1 year old, let alone 5, but Jackson, Buell from day 1 defied doctors' expectations. Born with the majority of his brain missing, his story inspired those closest to him and people all around the globe. On April 1, as his father held him in his arms, Jackson, Buell got his wings. He passed away very naturally, extremely peacefully and comfortably. They were given 5 years' worth of memories, Brandon Buell said, will last a lifetime. His son leaves behind a legacy of strength, sweetness, and a spirit that rose above everything else, anything that he had to deal with against all odds. He never stopped until the very end. Brandon Buell said he never stopped being so strong and so sweet. It was a blessing we were given, although my faith was tested during this journey. Sometimes the doctors are wrong, like when Tom and Jessica Matterson, then 4 weeks pregnant, were told that their baby probably wouldn't survive the pregnancy. If their child doesn't make it to term, the doctors warned, he would most certainly not survive the trauma of birth, and if somehow the child survives birth, the Mastersons wouldn't have much time with him. He won't be compatible with life. Tom Masterson recalled the doctor's words. He will not survive this. Tom smiled at baby Owen, now a year old. As he told the story, Owen has a calvaria, an extremely rare malformation consisting of the absence of skull and facial bones. Owen has no skull above his eyebrow and ears to protect his brain. The condition was discovered during an ultrasound at 4 weeks. The doctors were not sure if Owen even had skin covering his brain. Our pastor had come to the hospital before he was born and was able to pray with us, Tom continued. We felt confident that God was going to do something, that Owen had a very specific purpose. We didn't know what that was, but we felt there was a specific purpose for him. I love him the way he is her. Husband agreed. We're so thankful for him. Tom said, I'm so happy that we get to experience this, and we don't know what this looks like long term. The doctors are like, we're done telling you we don't know. We haven't been right yet, so we're going to stop talking about it. Owen's doctor told the family he's found about 10 cases where a child has survived more than a few hours with a calaveria. Owen celebrated his 1-year birthday earlier this month. We've been chosen to have him. Tom and Jessica Masterson, both from the Jefferson City area, found jobs in the Springfield area. Not long after graduating from Missouri State University, Tom landed a teaching job with Springfield Public Schools and later was hired as an assistant principal. He is currently the principal at Jeffries Elementary. Jessica was hired as a speech therapist at the Early Childhood Center, but chose to leave that position to take care of Owen about 3 years ago. They took a 2-year-old named Riley. They have since adopted her. The couple had a miscarriage not long before becoming pregnant again in 2016. With Owen, the Mastersons said they were thrilled when they got to the 2-0-week point and had an ultrasound to learn the baby's gender. They were told it was a boy, but the technician was unable to view the baby's head. They just said, we didn't get to see everything, so we'll see you again. And we were like, all right. We had no idea. There was concern, Tom said. Then, at 4 weeks, they told us the guy that did the ultrasound and told us, hey doctor, we'll begin to talk with you guys in a minute. Tom recalled. We immediately knew a field care specialist came into the room and tried to explain about the baby's very abnormal brain development. The couple said they had in no way braced themselves for what the doctor was saying. They weren't able to make a diagnosis, but they could tell there was a significant absence of skull. Tom said, I passed out with her husband on the floor. Jessica said she was just trying to process, like, is this real? What they're telling us, it was there. At 7 weeks, the Mastersons had a fetal MRI and were told the baby had a calaveria. They had told us with certainty, you will not survive birth. Tom said the Masterson were told that terminating the pregnancy. Under these circumstances, even though she was beyond 2 weeks, was something they could consider. We just said absolutely not. That is not something we will consider remotely, Tom said. We don't really know what this is going to look like, but this is our baby. We've been chosen to have him, so we're going to do everything we can to love him as long as we get to have him, having been told the baby would likely not survive the pregnancy. Jessica said she decided her due date. She loved the feeling of Owen moving around in her belly and didn't want to lose that. I felt like while he was in the womb he is safe. She said, I can't do anything when he's being born or after he's born. I was like, he can just stay. All this came just a few weeks after the Masterson shared there. It's a boy news on Facebook. Now they had more news to share. We shared on Facebook, and it was more like we don't really want a bunch of I'm sorry. He recalled of his May 26, 2017 post. We really wanted people to hunker down and pray for us, pray for Owen. Though the prognosis was dim, Tom said, they held out hope that the doctors were wrong and their baby would be born healthy. They continued to pray back at Mercy in Springfield. The Mastersons met with a care team comprised of just about every medical professional who might be working with them in the future, all dependent on what happened with Owen. It was a huge room with a ton of people there. Tom said it was hard to hear, but they walked us through what it will look like if he is born and is deceased upon birth, what it will look like if he is born alive but deceased this shortly thereafter, and what it will look like if he is still alive.